Hi, I'm John Sloan III, and here's what's coming up this week on One Detroit Arts and Culture. Heads up, Marvel fans. Nationally renowned comic book author Saladin Ahmed discusses his brand new Marvel series and more. Plus, a very special holiday market at Friendship Circle's Soul Studio. And then a display of mesmerizing movement from Artlab J. It's all just ahead on One Detroit Arts and Culture.
Support for this program provided in part by the Kresge Foundation, the Cynthia and Edsel Ford Fund for Journalism at Detroit Public TV. From Delta Faucets to Behr Paint, Masco Corporation is proud to deliver products that enhance the way consumers all over the world experience and enjoy their living spaces. Masco, serving Michigan communities since 1929.
The DTE Foundation is a proud sponsor of Detroit Public TV, among the state's largest foundations committed to Michigan-focused giving. We support organizations that are doing exceptional work in our state. Visit dtefoundation.com to learn more.
Gregory Haynes and Richard Sonenklar. Nissan Foundation. And by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
What up, doe? Welcome to One Detroit Arts and Culture. I'm John Sloan III, Detroit-based activist, creative, founder of Ghostlight Productions, and producing artistic director of the Obsidian Theater Festival. I'm guest hosting for the immensely talented Satori Shakur as she performs in the play The Kink in My Hair. Thanks for joining me here at the Fisher Lounge in Detroit's beautiful Fisher Theater. Coming up on the show, Friendship Circle's Soul Studio holds their annual holiday market where the public can buy gifts and have a peek inside the studio as the artists create their unique pieces right from the heart. It's something everyone needs to experience. And then Artlab J's Winter Gala from last year. You are beautiful. But our first segment is for the Marvel fans. Saladin Ahmed is an Eisner Award-winning, Detroit-based and nationally renowned comic book author. He's best known for Marvel's Black Bolt, Ms. Marvel, and Miles Morales' Spider-Man, as well as his original series, Abbott, a supernatural mystery set in 1970s Detroit. One Detroit's Chris Jordan sat down with Saladin at Vault of Midnight Comics in Detroit to discuss his Marvel series, The Spine-Tingling Spider-Man, and his comic website, Copper Bottle. He also talks about how he uses comics to spark important conversations about real-world social issues. Let's take a look.
Spine-Tingling Spider-Man, brand new, first issue just dropped end of October. Yeah. You're writing 3 different iterations of that character. What makes this one different?
I've always loved Peter Parker. I've grown a very powerful relationship with Miles Morales, writing him the past few years. But of course, Peter was the Spider-Man I knew growing up. And to me, he's always been at his most inspiring when he's got the toughest odds against him. And then the fact that horror stories, which I also dabble in a lot, are really about the odds being against you, sometimes overwhelmingly, right? And that's where the sense of horror comes from. I went to Marvel and basically was like, I really want to do a horror book featuring Peter Parker, and they were very supportive of it. I've lucked out extremely by getting the artist Juan Ferreira, who's just astonishing talent. And that's the thing that we always have to talk about when we talk about comics is art makes the comic. I can have all the ideas in the world and it's just an idea until somebody draws it. And Juan took the thing to another level. It's super important to me to talk about the world around us, even whether I'm talking about aliens or elves or vampires. I'm still talking about our world in our time. And I think we have a responsibility to do that as storytellers. We're part of a larger world, and dire things are happening in that world right now to a lot of people. And if we don't talk about that stuff as much as we're able to in the arenas that we're able to, I think we're falling down on our duties as human beings.
In Abbott, the way that page 1 of that comic is Abbott breaking the story of the police killing of a black teenager. It really hits home to our world now.
Abbott was my first creator-owned comic, and it's the story of a female black journalist in the 1970s working at a white newspaper. And it's a story about race, it's a story about gender. As much as anything, it's a story about Detroit. I'm from Dearborn, right? I'm from an Arab enclave in Dearborn, from an immigrant community there that raised me. But I was always raised with a love for and respect for Detroit. And also, I was raised with an awareness that Detroit had been slandered. The kind of predominant narrative in the suburbs was sort of, oh, Detroit's so dangerous and it's fallen apart, it used to be great. And it's a transparently racist sort of take when you strip away just a layer of kind of why people felt that way about Detroit. And so, to me, one of the most important things writers do is to expose lies and tell the truth. It's why I made a journalist the hero of my story rather than a police officer or a detective. On the one hand, Abbott is a fun, scary story, hopefully about a woman using magic powers to hunt evil wizards and a darkness that is haunting the land. But it's also very much a story about the history of Detroit and about the way in which Detroit in the 70s, even as people were saying it was falling apart or was going to the dogs or whatever, was a place of renaissance, of true cultural renaissance, of emancipation.
Growing up in Dearborn and near Detroit, how does that translate over for you into these other stories that are, set outside Detroit?
I knew that I wanted to create Michigan heroes, Detroit heroes, when I went to Marvel. So the first character that I created with Detroit roots was in Miles Morales' Spider-Man, and her name is Tiana Toombs, aka Starling. When I started to think about who this character was, Detroit called out to me. And so we got to do some really great scenes about in her origin issue with her practicing her wings, flying above the Detroit River and flying around the Renaissance Center and stuff like that. And then I did have to represent my own Dearborn, Michigan, and Arab Americans. And so I created their Fadi Fadlallah, also known as Amulet, in the pages of Ms. Marvel. And he's a kind of big, beefy, good, thick boy who's a football player with a heart of gold, and he comes to New Jersey, which is where Ms. Marvel's adventures take place, from Dearborn, Michigan.
It is so important to have that representation on and off the page and making comics like just a more diverse medium.
I appreciate the distinction between on and off the page because they're definitely separate things. I think that we've made strides, not as many as we could have, but we've made strides representing better what our culture looks like, right? There are Muslim characters on TV, there are trans characters in video games, there are things that when I was a kid just plain weren't there. I can remember how desperate I was to latch onto characters that had any bit of Arabness or Muslimness, or no matter how cheesily and slightly stereotypically it might have been rendered, right? My kids, when I talk to them about representation and I talk about how cool it is that character X is of Y race, or they're just sort of, well, yeah, of course. It's not as big a deal to them, but the fact that it's not a big deal is the big deal.
Totally,
and represents some progress that I think we've made. We still live in a white supremacist country. We still live in a country that is patriarchal. We still live in a country where working people are treated like things rather than people. And our stories are going to reflect that. Yeah. Some of us are working very hard to make the stories reflect a different reality and maybe try and shape us toward another reality, but that will always be an uphill battle, and so that brings up the kind of second part of the equation, which is what's happening behind the scenes, and it's often pretty ugly. Most of these fields are still incredibly male-dominated, whether it's video games, whether it's TV, whether it's comics. I've been in those writing rooms, I've been in those meetings with executives and really seen what the real powers in these worlds look like, and they look pretty much like they've always looked. A few more women, but not many. And here and there a face of color, but not many. We always also have to be pushing for different kinds of faces behind the scenes. The creators have to, because it's a question of political power and of resources, right?
And I know with Copper Bottle, kind of your mission statement with that is, that it's creator-owned, independent comics, kind of with really like a focus on a lot of creators of color and women.
Copper Bottle is my pop-up imprint, as we're calling it, dedicated to my creator-owned comics. Now I'm publishing a couple of titles, one called Star Signs and one that's called Terror War. Terror War drawn by a local artist, Dave Acosta, Detroit's own. And we are producing work that we own is the simplest version of it. It's we're trying to move toward comics where if you've drawn that comic, if you've written that comic, you'll have ownership of whatever that comic becomes, so that people feel invested in the work that they're creating. And to me, that's just, it's an extension of what I think we need to be doing as a culture generally.
You can find Chris's full 40-minute sit-down with Saladin on our website, onedetroitpbs.org. Next up, the artists at Friendship Circle's Soul Studio in West Bloomfield insert their personality into every gift they create for their annual holiday market. Bright notebooks and fun t-shirts are just some of the pieces to buy, and each one comes with a special message honoring the artist. Friendship Circle is a longtime local organization that helps individuals with special needs and their families. We went to Soul Studio to check out the market and the exhibition, Community Ties, and I promise, it's an experience to remember.
This is the happiest, safest, most fulfilling space to be in.
It's colorful, it's kind of chaotic, it's fun, it's playful, and it's inviting.
Many of our artists really live their life at a deeper soul level.
They help me to see the world in a completely different light every day.
Soul Studio is this treasured haven for any individual with special needs.
Anywhere from 18 to however old you want to be to participate. So we are an assisted studio, which means we have artists who come in for a day-to-day artistic practice, who are facilitated by professional instructors like myself.
They get to come into this space where there is every kind of studio you could think of, from wood to fibers, mixed media, ceramics, laser cutting, where they could come and explore and really create.
I think that art is such a beautiful form of therapy because it involves all of the sensory experiences of life that for our friends here are already heightened. So we lean into that.
We know how cool our artists are. We know how much they change our life and inspire us. But it's a really good feeling when we know that we could share it and spread it. So by having the holiday market is another way to invite the community from outside to come into our four walls, to look through the fine art as well as the holiday market items, send it out as gifts. You could then get that bio card that describes and shares with you a bit about the story of that individual artist. That makes for a much more meaningful gift.
By the community coming just to see their artwork matters so much to them, but to have somebody buy your artwork solidifies in your mind what I did matters and who I am matters. And somebody else sees that in me too.
I think the holiday market is amazing. I would love to buy some of the art, some of the pieces.
We're very excited that we have things, whether it's on lapel pins, our journals, our wooden pens that are handcrafted, each one, our great sweatshirt, our awesome coffee bottles and mugs. These are all items that not only it's a cool gift, but the messaging and the artwork on it brings a whole deeper meaning to your gift. Our artists have been creating for the holiday market for the past several months.
It took a lot of hard work to make the artwork pieces. Well, the Pontiac Silverdome was one of them. It's over there. I used the sewing machine and tried to make almost exact replica of the Pontiac Silverdome.
What I created for the Halloween market is some notebooks. It's a very colorful notebook. It was created by one of my paintings that I did. I just put some shapes on there and just make it really colorful. I love pink and stuff, and that's my favorite color.
There are so many comments, like the artist will say, I'm just so happy I'm gonna make someone happy by them getting my gift.
Makes me feel good, and they can put their thoughts in it or their ideas. If they're, anxious for some reason, they can always put something in there and make them feel, okay.
For our artists, an important part is actually working as a professional artist, selling their work, and realizing that they have a path that they could really take. When somebody purchases something at the holiday market, artists will get 50%, and then 50% will go back into Soul Studio for supplies and any other kind of items that we would need. Every time an artist gets that check, the smile on their face is it's so not necessarily about the money. The sense of satisfaction, somebody else appreciates my talent.
I sold several pieces here before. Proud of myself. It inspires me to think of more creative ideas to do artwork as time goes on, I guess.
All of these artists live their life very genuinely, and they show that in their artwork. And I think it's a medium for them to express themselves in ways they might not be able to otherwise.
And once they are creating any of their artwork, we're able to present it and have it in our show in our gallery.
We actually had our first weaving exhibition.
This exhibition is community ties. My main point in curating this art show was highlighting the playfulness of it. And I think that is such an important part of trying to both represent our current volunteers and this collaborative nature, but also enticing more people from the community to want to be here. I think Adam's work truly does show that connection to the person he was working with. This guitar, it's playful, it's fun, it's so him. And it became an entirely different project because of the relationship he had built with his volunteer that he was working collaboratively with.
I made that with the sewing machine, and I sewed different fabrics together and made a design pattern on the front of the guitar right there. I like listening to music a lot.
Being able to show both sides of who you are through your artwork too. You can be this rock and roll, fun guy, and then also make your guitar soft so you can sleep with it. I think all of their artwork speaks volumes by itself, and it's such a beautiful kind of mirror of the artist.
I feel that Soul Studio is a treasure in our community. It's a place where do yourself a favor and give yourself time to come visit. We love visitors. Our artists love to communicate, to socialize, to share their love of life.
So whether that's you coming in just to come and walk through the space, check out the gallery, or go to the cafe, just being a part of this experience is so important, and we want people to know that they're always welcome.
For more info on Friendship Circle and Soul Studio, go to our website at onedetroitpbs.org. Turning to Artlab J, a nonprofit dance organization connecting people of all ages and abilities through the power of dance. Last year was the 10th year of their Winter Gala. We caught up with the dancers as they prepared for their performance entitled, You Are Beautiful.
I think it's getting better with the speed and 4/8 count, and then the last 4/8 count when you open it. Do you think because we hands coming in, do you think that 2 seconds you can let go?
For Jury Jung, founder of Artlab J, it was important to create a space for professional dancers in Detroit.
4, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and drop. Yes. I think because I'm an artist too, and then I'm always starving, hungry to space to present my work. That's my most important part looking for. And yeah, so that's why when I start Artlab J, I'm trying to make a space for the artists and then what they need, what they're looking for. So mostly artists, performing artists, they want to present their work.
Jung says the work of dancing
1, 2, 3 hands is very clear.
Has been difficult for her and other artists to carry out over the last year.
Since pandemic start, performing arts it was very sad because we needed to close, and even we practice and create something, we can presenting it. So past almost 1.5 years, we didn't have a chance to meet live audience. And finally, we have a chance to renting a space to perform, and that's in the Arts Center. So it's coming a Winter Gala with our company 1 and then Youth Company 2 coming together, presenting our new works, and we're gonna gathering together.
That work will be presented on December 19th at their Winter Gala. There, dancers will showcase their talent. Today, they're practicing for what they hope will be a joy for all who see it.
Yeah, so let's stand up. And when Tyler starts run, I think directly you guys can run too. Yeah, even you a little bit, the timing, whatever happened, I think we should, if he's moving, we should move with.
Tyler Korf, one of the dancers with Artlab J, says before it came into his life, he feared he wouldn't have an outlet in the area to showcase his love for dancing.
I am a recent graduate of Western Michigan University, and because of COVID, I didn't feel there was anywhere I could go to dance. So they had their audition and I auditioned and made it, and ever since then, I feel like I've grown more as a dancer because we've been doing so much outreach with the Metro Detroit area and performing all over the place.
The ability to make a difference in the community through dance is one of the things Brittany Burr loves about Artlab J. She's one of the company's most senior dancers.
It provides a lot for the Detroit community, especially in terms of just it being so close to the community and the way that Jury has her plans and how she's already involved in the community. First with this youth education that we're working on, and then just a chance to really spread a sort of dance and passion to all aspects of the community. She is very much involved in all sorts of projects, and it's very special, and I think everyone needs a chance to see it.
But Artlab J is not only a space for adult dancers. It's a space where children are able to show their creative side through movement and other expression.
You're very slow.
But Jung says she's proud that within these walls, it's dance that's leading the way and making an impact in Detroit.
And stop.
For more on our arts and culture stories and live performances, just head to onedetroitpbs.org, as well as on social media at OneDetroit. That's going to do it for me. But before I leave you, I urge you to get out and experience the arts and culture scene of this season. Even if it's just touring the beautiful lights in your neighborhood, I promise you, it's sure to uplift. From all of us here to all of you at home, happy holidays, and we'll see you next time.
You make me feel, it feels so unreal. With you I know it's not a game. Your love is indescribable. You've been there for me in my time of need, and you never let me go. Even when I was afraid to give you my heart, you said, trust my love will never depart. Yes, you got me convinced. I didn't think this could exist. No matter sun or rain, you've been by my side. It can't be denied. There's no love like our love. I don't wanna know what life is like. You and I get enough. And this is beautiful. I get butterflies when I hear your voice. I know I made the right choice. Your words are edible. You're a home here. from the purest place. You take me to outer space. Just know that I'm all in, 'cause you have been my best friend. Ooh. No matter sun or rain, yeah. You've been by my side. It can't be denied.
You can find more at onedetroitpbs.org or subscribe to our social media channels and sign up for our One Detroit newsletter.
Support for this program provided in part by the Kresge Foundation, the Cynthia and Edsel Ford Fund for Journalism at Detroit Public TV. From Delta Faucets to Behr Paint, Masco Corporation is proud to deliver products that enhance the way consumers all over the world experience and enjoy their living spaces. Masco, serving Michigan communities since 1929.
The DTE Foundation is a proud sponsor of Detroit Public TV, among the state's largest foundations committed to Michigan-focused giving. We support organizations that are doing exceptional work in our state. Visit dtefoundation.com to learn more.
Gregory Haynes and Richard Sonenklar. Nissan Foundation. And by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.